At this point, the system has failed us.
An attorney for death row inmate Ivan Cantu speaks out right before he was executed in a Texas prison. Cantu was convicted and sentenced to death for the 2000 murders of his cousin and cousin's fiancée. 50-year-old Cantu was put to death by lethal injection right before 7 p.m. Wednesday night. It took about 20 minutes as witnesses looked on, including the family of one of the victims. Cantu was said to be in pretty good spirits before the execution, maintaining his innocence until the end. There were no issues with his lethal injection in Texas, but that wasn't the case for another inmate on death row in Idaho. Just hours earlier, officials halted the lethal injection of 73-year-old death row inmate Thomas Creech, a convicted serial killer. The medical team struggled to carry out his death because they couldn't establish an IV line.
They tried multiple times to insert an IV line. They had earlier in the day, the medical team had established 8 possible spots to insert an IV. And they tried each of those spots over the next hour, in the crook of his arm, in his hand, the same with the other arm, and then in his legs near his ankles. All of those attempts failed, so 8 attempts in all. They were all unsuccessful.
Creech was imprisoned in 1974, convicted of 5 murders in 3 states and suspected of several more. He was serving a life sentence when he beat a fellow inmate to death in 1981, the crime for which he was to be executed more than 4 decades later. This execution was to be Idaho's first in 12 years.
For us, it wasn't a difficult decision. It was the right decision to halt any future attempts at trying to establish IV access. Let's call it, and we'll discuss next steps after that.
Creech's attorneys immediately filed a new motion for a stay in the U.S. District Court, calling this a botched execution attempt and proving the department's inability to carry out a humane and constitutional execution. Jenna Enoch, Spectrum News.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. For more stories in your communities, click the subscribe button right here. You can also download our app or watch us on TV for the latest news and weather updates every 10 minutes and more. We'll see you then.